Hi, we're back. Thanks for staying with us and joining the studio now by two gentlemen from Origin Oil. The stock symbol's OOIL. Of course, Mr. Riggs Eckelberry. He's the CEO of the company. Riggs, always good to see you.
Hi, Don.
And Mr. Paul Reap, who's the Senior Vice President of Technology. Paul, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Don.
Now, I usually begin these interviews with Riggs by asking what's new, but in this case, you're new. I want to congratulate you with your appointment to Senior Vice President of Technology. I understand you're also on the Board of Directors. What was it about Origin Oil that attracted you to the company?
Well, it was about time that Algae really started to get the attention that it deserved. And when Riggs invited me down to meet with his brother, Nicholas, what they had told me about the original Helix bioreactor was very exciting to me as a way to grow algae at a commercial scale.
Well, it's amazing, Paul, because you talk about growing algae on a commercial scale so matter-of-factly when actually a couple of years ago it was very much fantasy. But so our audience gets to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm a petroleum engineer by training and business degree also. And I was with the Department of Energy for about 20 years in a number of different programs, from nuclear to alternative energy programs using renewables and alternative feedstocks. The Department of Energy had a very long-lasting program in the study of algae as a potential energy source or feedstock. And it's really from that kind of investigations that DOE was involved with earlier that really kind of caught my eye, that I saw that possibly this could be in a commercial realization setting.
Now, that's fascinating to me when you mentioned that the DOE was actually on this algae thing. I mean, how long ago? How many years has this been looked at?
Well, I think it was a 20-year-long program, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that's amazing. And again, as we've said before in this program, Riggs, you know, it's really been the last couple of 3 years, and your company's really been leading the way as far as moving algae to the forefront. Now, as I mentioned, I always ask you what's new. We got Paul's part of it. How about you? What's new at the company?
Well, for the last over 2 years, I've been literally biting my nails, waiting for Paul to show up. He had this assignment at the USC Stevens Institute for Innovation, juggling about 200 technology transfer cases at a time, and in fact, he became prematurely gray as a result. But you know, that's the kind of competency and skill set that the company very much needs. Brian Goodall, whom you met a few weeks ago on this program, had to take another position in part for family reasons in the Midwest, and he did wonderful things for our science and our patents, and really getting the company through the research phase that was so critical. At this point, we've got so much that is actually hitting the market, being commercialized. We have real, customer transactions happening, that we sort of have to move to this commercialization stage, and Paul is just marvelous for that.
Well, it has to be extremely satisfying for you as CEO, and we keep talking about this short history that we've been doing this, that you're now starting to attract the likes of Paul into your company with his background, his pedigree. It has to be extremely satisfying for you.
Well, if we can attract Paul, we can attract anyone. In fact, I'd like to offer you a job, if possible.
Well, let's talk. Been doing this for a long time. Now, we continue to hear in the news all the unrest in the Middle East, of course, the tragedy in Japan. We've seen now that there is another great, huge question mark over the nuclear landscape with what's going on in Japan. All of these geopolitical events, all of these disaster events, again, kind of pave the way back to what you folks are doing. Algae obviously is safe. We can do it right here domestically. We don't have to worry about political events going on halfway across the world. It's moving in your direction again.
Certainly, we don't have to worry about an algae meltdown, and
right.
That's, algae, of course, as Brian said on this program, it occupies, it's only about 3% of the world's green photosynthetic material, but it absorbs about 55% of the CO2 in the world. And so, algae is everywhere. It's doing this huge job. And what we're going to see coming out of this nuclear tragedy is, I agree, a pullback, many fronts, except in the most authoritarian countries, from nuclear, and as a result, fossil fuels will move into the breach. They'll increase demand for fossil fuels, again, look for higher prices over time, but more importantly, they'll be looking for a way to do something about the CO2. the Obama administration and the world was relying on nuclear to do a lot of the heavy lifting on carbon. That's going to be going away, perhaps. So something's got to step in to mitigate the fossil fuel impact on the world. Now, people say, well, CO2, that's maybe not so important, et cetera, but it acidifies our oceans and our lakes, acid rain, remember? And we've got to do something about it no matter what. And I think people are realizing that, and algae can do the job and, of course, build itself into the ultimate replacement for petroleum.
Once again, Origin Oil, stock symbols OOIL. Gentlemen, Paul, first, I want to welcome you again to the program. Congratulations on your being involved with the company. Riggs, it's always an education with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Don.